All right, what's going on, everyone? I just went and saw Leviticus, a newish horror movie. I think it played at like a festival last year, but I finally got around to seeing it, and I heard a lot of good buzz about it. You know, anytime you hear like, "Oh, it's one of the greatest horror movies of the year," or "It's one of the greatest horror movies ever," or something like that, it kind of puts you on edge. You know, like the same thing happened with Obsession before I saw it, but it ended up being a really great movie, and I kind of feel the same way about Leviticus. You know, it's not anything like revolutionary, I would say, in terms of the horror elements. Because again, a lot of people compare it to It Follows, but I don't really think it's that comparable. So I mean, It Follows was an allegory for like STDs and stuff like that. In that movie, the entity kind of it follows like it follows you. It like walks around. It takes its time, stalking up on you. And in this movie, the entity. So the story is the two main characters, Joe Bird, who plays Name, Naim, and Stacy Clausen plays Ryan, and they start to form a romantic relationship. You know, they're secretly meeting up in this warehouse, like outside of town. Eventually, their parents find out, and they essentially bring them to this person who's called a deliverance healer, and he puts this like spell or whatever. He uses a cross, and then he uses a lighter, and then after he does his thing, the entity thing starts coming after them, and it takes the form of the person that you desire or you love the most. So in this movie, they're basically seeing each other whenever the entity shows up. And because in It Follows, it was just random people, just random dudes. It was just like random ass strangers following them around and stuff like that. In this movie, it has a more of like a narrative reason, because again, it plays with the is it really them? Is it not them? Can I trust them, or will they attack me if I let my guard down? Which is kind of the point. And I think that's probably the only relation you can make to It Follows, because also again, the entity kind of just teleports around. You know, it doesn't like stalk them. Well, there are some points where it does, but it'll be like one of the characters will be walking around an area by themselves, and they'll see the person like behind a tree or something, and it starts walking towards them, and they'll run away, and it'll like teleport to another location. So it's not really the same. But that aside, I think a lot of the horror mainly goes into the aspect of this like kind of smallish town they live in. It's an Australian horror movie, so they're in Australia. It's kind of a smallish town, and all the main characters, like their parents, all go to the same church, where again is where the deliverance healer. Once word gets out about these relationships that some of the kids are having, that's when they start putting the spells on them. It's just terrifying because again, stuff like that happens in real life, like conversion therapy and stuff like that. Obviously, without like the demons and crap, it's obviously like a heightened version of that. But the fact that the parents of these kids, instead of trying to understand them or love them for who they are, their first step is to let's put a curse on them to rid them of this evil inside them or whatever. It's insane, especially like towards the end of the movie. No spoilers, but one of the main characters has a conversation with his mom, and it's just like she's an awful person with what she admits. And it's just like, these people doing these things to their kids, again, instead of trying to understand or love them for who they are. But again, I think that also plays into the hypocrisy of Christianity, mainly like Catholicism and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people use religion as a means to like be better people, have some kind of path in their life to follow, so they have like kind of a purpose. But also again, a lot of it is hypocrisy. It's, my way or the highway. You follow these rules. I grew up in a very religious family, and I saw that firsthand. It's like we preach this thing, love thy neighbor, whatever, 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 and then we say hateful things about groups of people that we don't agree with. So just a lot of hypocrisy with that, and it comes to play in this movie as well, because someone dies in the movie, and then their parents have the audacity to be at church like, "Oh, my son, he's dead," and I'm like, you knew it was going to happen, and you did it anyway, so I don't want to hear it from you, your crocodile tears now that they're dead, because instead of doing the basic things that you're taught by Jesus and the Bible and stuff like that, your first step is to curse them, essentially. That's basically the gist of the whole movie. The two main characters, Name and Ryan, they're trying to, they want to be together, but then every time they do, these entities come around, or it creates even more chaos for them, and then when their family keeps hounding on them about stuff like that. It is a horror movie. I won't say it's very scary. There is one jump scare that I was like, oh, that's kind of a cheap jump scare, but there's only one. And I think the rest of it is more just tension. Probably more of like a thriller, I'd say. You know, there are some gory moments, but it's not over the top. It's only like an hour and 25 minutes or something like that, so it's a pretty quick watch. So it doesn't overstay its welcome. I think it has a nice wrap up, you know. You know, compared to like Obsession, the ending of Obsession was not a feel good by any means necessary. But this movie was kind of, it was like a half and half, feel good and not feel good kind of thing. I won't spoil it obviously, but yeah, and it was directed and written by Adrian Cairella. I've not seen any of their other works, so I think this is just a pretty decent horror movie. And again, from like the LGBTQ community, I've heard a lot of good positive buzz about it, and I feel like if I was a part of that community, it would probably hit a lot more as well. But you know, as a straight man on the outside looking in, I think again it really plays to the horrors of what people in that community have to go through in their daily lives, especially like from their own families. And yeah, I think just yeah, you know, people will compare it to It Follows. It's really nothing like that movie. Again, in terms of the messaging and whatnot, you know, it's like, oh, there's someone walking towards you. It's It Follows clone. It's just like, no, no. But yeah, overall, I think I would give this movie probably like an 8 out of 10, a solid 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I would watch it again, to be honest. But also, I felt the same way about Obsession. Really enjoyed that movie. Don't feel like watching it again, just because it's kind of a bummer. But overall, yeah, I think you know it was good to see in the theater. You know, I don't think it could be bad to wait to watch it on streaming because again, it's a pretty small contained story, so you don't need to really see it with the loudest speakers and the biggest screen to be able to enjoy the impact of it. And yeah, so let me know down below. Did you see Leviticus? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Hit the like button, subscribe. Peace.